Hello, everyone. I am back once again. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done another review. I think it's been I don't know. I'll put up on screen, but I think it's been about I don't know 2 weeks. So from the last review, but yes, I did. It's been 2 weeks since my last review, and today's review is going to be on the Marvel Legends Daredevil Season 2 Man-Thing Build-A-Figure Wave Punisher. So here we are. There he is right now. There he is currently. No other announcements to go through, so no PSAs. So let's move on to the packaging, because I actually do have the packaging with me. It's not in a box. There it says right there, Daredevil Punisher. It's very old. This box, not the square boxes you would see. On the top, it's a bit dusty, but there is the Punisher logo. It's actually kind of impressive seeing that on a Marvel Legends figure, but then again, same with a War Journal figure. It's right there, Man-Thing, Build-A-Figure Wave. On the side, we get I think it's either a 3D, like, artwork or something else. I don't know, but it is art of Jon Bernthal's Punisher. Same art on the other side. On the bottom is just barcodes and legalese. Not like it would matter anyway, because this thing costs so much money. And on the back, here we have the figure. Currently, it is a bit creased, but if you want to pause and read the bio there you go. And you get the other figures from the wave. You have Daredevil, Punisher, Elektra, Jessica Jones, Blade, and Bullseye. I do have Bullseye, but I got him used, so he doesn't have the Build-A-Figure piece. And I do have this Build-A-Figure piece here, but we'll get there. So, yeah, that's it for the packaging. So, you know the drill. My first overall thoughts and my overview and quick history of this figure. If you notice my profile picture in any of my social media or anything, if you watch my videos, some of my videos, you know that I am a big Punisher fan. And I have been looking for a Jon Bernthal Punisher I was looking for this guy for quite a while. Especially because at the time, it was between this and the Mezco, and there was no way in hell I'm going to get the Mezco for at least a somewhat affordable price. So I settled for just getting this one. Only issue was that it was so hard to find. It was like ridiculously hard. I was so close to getting him from one guy, but then he was selling it for $100. And spoiler alert, that's the general price nowadays. This thing goes for at minimum maybe like $70. But I feel like the price has probably lowered, and we'll get to why. But anyways, yes, I was trying really hard to find this. And then I found one guy on Facebook that was selling this. Well, specifically a used version, but he was selling one with the box. So I got it. And it was a dream come true. It was like the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Lizard. My character arc, my hunt for a Jon Bernthal Punisher was over, because now I have one. And I did do an unboxing for that. Now, and of course, as you saw, this figure was on my top 10 best figures of 2025. Granted, it was an honorable mention, but I'll admit that's mainly due to bias. Because, again, I just love the Punisher. I am a big fanboy of the Punisher. But, yes, I did get it, and there's that. Now, of course, as if you know this already, and since it's already up, and by the time this is uploaded, there is a new Punisher figure, and I will put a link in the description, and here's a photo, a new Punisher Jon Bernthal figure from Daredevil Born Again, which looks better than this one. So it makes this one kind of pointless, which begs the question, is this figure really worth buying, especially because the newer one is released? I will be absolutely honest with you, not really. But I'll explain why in this review, starting with the painting and the sculpt of this figure. Alright, so the painting and the sculpting on this figure is interesting. It's very interesting because it's very old. Now, is it good? Yes. Maybe 7 years ago it was good, but now I gotta admit it is a little outdated. And let's see what I mean. Now let's start off with the head sculpt here. Look at this head sculpt, right? I'm gonna go real close here. It's a pretty, I'm gonna put a picture of John Bernthal here as reference, but I'd say compare, and of course the new Marvel Legends Punisher from the Daredevil Born Again line, from Daredevil Born Again. This head sculpt is like, it's there, but at the same time, it's really wonky. If you can notice, the eyes are kind of like misplaced. It looks like they're all shifting to the left for some reason, and it looks a little weird. And I get the irises, but I don't know, it looks a little too big. I like the fact, though, they gave him a little bit of damage on his nose, because we know that this guy loves to fight and he has a lot of bruises. And it looks really good. I love the sculpt work on this. And it definitely looks like he's been punched in the face a ton of times, which, yes, Bernthal has been punched in the face a lot. And it looks really good. I love the sculpt work on the eyes. Although, again, it just looks a little bit too big, a little bit too anime-like. I love the hair sculpt. It's very nicely well done, but I do think the fade and I guess the 5 o'clock shadow looks a bit off. It looks like he's wearing a mask rather than like natural looking fade, especially when we go at the back. I don't know about that. But, you know, for the time, this was actually really good. But it's a pretty standard looking sculpt here. It's very nicely well done. But again, 7 years ago. Now I'd say it's a very outdated. The eyes are off. The nose is off. The 5 o'clock shadow looks like a mask that he wore over time. And it kind of just sealed his, like, it kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't really look right. Especially when compared to his neck. Now moving on to the arms. These arms have been reused a lot. The most notable example of one I have is the Gambit figure, because they do reuse these arms, and they're not bad. Granted, they do make it does look a little bit weird, because, like, the trench coat is not really that big, whereas the arms are kind of massive in comparison, especially when you remove the trench coat, it looks really off. But they're pretty standard sculpt, nice wrinkling detail, and they are pinless, as you can see. Now, moving on to the skull, and I'm going to have to go off camera for a bit, and then also talk about the trench coat. Here is what the skull looks like. Here's what he looks like without the trench coat. And it looks really, and of course, here's a nice look at his skull vest, which looks really good. I love how bright and colorful it is, but I feel like it looks a bit rushed. I don't know if it really shows on camera, but, and I will have to probably wipe it as I speak. Give me a moment. Yeah, you can really tell it looks a little bit rushed. I get the Punisher skull from the Netflix series was a little bit rushed in of itself, but I don't know. This side, it looks a little bit short. It looks like it's also shifting more to the left. Again, just like the eyes. And you do see the skull logo, but it doesn't really look very nice. The nostril part of the skull kind of just gets gets hidden amongst the whole thing to me. But it looks really, and especially when you move it, it's like it definitely breaks the sculpt. But I do love the sculpt work of this. You could see the ammo pouches on the side, and all that. You could see even, of course, the panels of his skull logo, which is what it's based off of. But even then, I feel like the eye parts of the vest are kind of spread out a little too much. And then if we flip it to the back, there is a nice detail here with the vest and how it looks. I don't know what else they could have done here. Maybe painted the straps, but then again, this is the Daredevil Season 2 look, not his look from the Punisher show where his straps are also painted too. I don't know, but there is that. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, here is the trench coat, which is not bad, but it doesn't really feel like a trench coat. It's really thin, to be honest with you. It's very thin, very rubbery, and you can simply just remove it very easily. And it looks really cool. Very nicely wrinkled and such. But I don't know. I don't really see him wearing the trench coat. Again, and this is more just a random, this is more a thing I just noticed with this Punisher and how I feel about this Punisher. Bernthal's Punisher, to me, I don't think he needs to wear like a trench coat to me. Because every scene in his own show, he's always wearing some sort of rain jacket or something. Rather than like this. Or he's wearing a long sleeve shirt. Or long sleeves, and that's it. So, yeah. Anyways, legs, they're good. Proportionally, though, it looks a little bit weird with the hips if you put them together. But it doesn't look that bad, although I wish there was a little bit more detail. More detail over here on the pouches, or maybe even the belt. But then again, it's a pretty standard looking figure. I think it's like on camera, it's showcasing like it's black. It's like mainly just a brownish color. Dark charcoal color, I guess. But yeah, there's the boots. Overall, the sculpt work is really well done. But I don't really think it looks as good as, again, that Daredevil Born Again version, which I'll show here. That version, I think, has a lot more things going for it. And because it's a lot more modern, it fixes up the skull logo. It adds a lot more accessories. The head sculpt looks a lot better. The arms obviously look a lot better, but that's because he's not wearing a trench coat. And overall, I just think it looks a lot better. Also, even more, as you noticed, this is pinned. The new one isn't, so take that as you will. But yeah, overall, painting and sculpt, it's pretty good, but it's really old, so it's not that great compared to modern day standards, and I'll show you what I mean with the size comparisons. But anyways, now let's move on to the accessories. The Punisher comes with a really light array of accessories. He comes with the Build-A-Figure piece, which looks really, really well done. Very nicely well sculpted. I love the brown dry brushing and such and the black nails. It's awesome. If you want articulation for it, there's a hinge here for when wants to like go in and out. Bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, and then a swivel hinge at the wrist. Be careful because this one is pretty tight on my copy. But I am not going to use it because I'm not going to build it. But moving on to the main part, of course, the guns. They're very nicely realistic, although I wish there was at least a little bit more paint. Some dry brushing would be awesome. Also, even more, the stock, whenever like someone is firing a gun like this, the stock should be a lot more extended, which is a bit of a bummer. But it looks really nice. I love how realistic it looks. And although it's a bit of a shame that this has been used a lot, even to the War Journal Punisher, which is currently on my table as we speak. Yes, it's been reused a lot, it's been repainted a lot, but it's a pretty cool looking gun. Of course, the figure has trigger finger hands, so you can simply just put the gun in here, and if you want to make sure he's dual wielding it, you can simply just put the hand over here. But it's not as good as, let's say, the War Journal Punisher, where it looks a lot better, in my humble opinion. And then, of course, he comes with this little gray pistol, which could potentially be misplaced because there's no paint on this thing. It looks really cool, very realistic, but I don't know. Could have been a lot better. Maybe this part here could have been painted black. But of course, as for usual, you can just put it here, and you can actually swap them out. Fortunately, though, there is no holster for the pistol, as shown here. There's no holster. There's no anything. And I forgot to mention about these legs. These legs have been reused a lot. I think one of them was the Eric Killmonger figure, which do reuse this. But yeah, accessories is really light. I mean, yeah, he doesn't come with a pair of guns, but I wish he came with, like, I don't know, fist hands or something, or a screaming head. I mean, this guy loves to scream, so yeah, there's that. But you can get into some pretty good poses with him. Speaking of poses, let's talk about articulation. Punisher's articulation is really outdated. There's no sugarcoating it. It's incredibly outdated. It still gets the job done. You can still get into some good poses. But again, until that new version comes out, this is what we have, and it's a little outdated again. So, talk about it. There is a disc at a hinge at the neck, which is more like a disc, so he can look up all the way far, which looks really weird, and he can look down a lot, and he can rotate from side to side all the way around, but there is no tilt. Arms are on a swivel right here, and they can go in, they could go out, and they can go in. There is a bicep swivel here, but there's also a forearm swivel here for some strange reason. And he also has a hinge joint swivel at the hand. However, there's none that makes it can go down, only just left or right. He does have a diaphragm joint that can go all the way around, but unfortunately, it does kind of break up the sculpt. And like this, it looks a little weird, so yeah. Unless you have the trench coat kind of covering it. And he does have a waist swivel. Ratchety too, which is a bit concerning. But and as I mentioned this too, it looks like the newer version doesn't have this too, so that's a bit of a bummer. Ball joints at the legs, he can kick up about this far, can kick it back about this far. The trench coat doesn't really limit too much because it's a very flexible material, so yeah, nothing too far off there. Just be warned, it kind of messes around a little bit. He can do the splits. There is a thigh swivel with him too. Right there. I might have to like move it over here. Thigh swivel on it too. Double bend at the knee, which is a little bit tight. And then there is no boot swivel or no calf swivel, which is a bit of a bummer because you could have easily implemented it. And then there is a hinge at the ankle. For some reason, this one is very loose while this one is super tight. Well, somewhat tight. You can bend it forward a little bit, but it's a bit tight. Be wary. Bend back. And, of course, pivot this way and pivot this way. So posability overall is really good. Again, you can get this guy into many good poses, as I'm demonstrating right here. But the issue is just it's very limited. And you can't really get him into a lot because of, well, there's just so much limited stuff here, you know. Yeah, the accessories are the hand parts make it very limited. Everything about it is just, you know, limited. Again, still can do very cool poses like this, but it's not really a lot, especially because as well, he doesn't really have any other hands like fist hands or anything. So that's a bit of a bummer. But again, you can pose him. It's just not that great. Now let's move on to size comparisons. For size comparisons, Bernthal's Punisher stands at almost 6 1/4, almost 6 1/2, which might actually be accurate to the actual like actor. So yeah, almost 6 1/2. And as for other size comparisons, here is Bernthal's Punisher compared to Hugh Jackman Wolverine from the Legacy Collection Deadpool line, and then the Integrated Suit Spider-Man from the 3-pack with Tobey and Andrew. And yeah, you can tell we have kind of upgraded a lot, even though they're kind of outdated in terms of articulation. But look at the head sculpt for Wolverine, right? It's very nicely well done, very nicely well sculpted, and actually looks like the actor. This Punisher is close, but then it's not entirely perfect. So, yeah, take it as you will. It looks a lot better here than it does over here. That's all I gotta say. But I will say, if we could get these two team up in a movie, I'll be so happy because Punisher and Wolverine are my current 2 favorite Marvel characters, so I hope that's the case, and maybe we could see both Punisher and Tom Holland Spidey in a movie too. That'd be really sick. But for the next comparison, here is John Bernthal's Punisher compared to the War Journal Punisher with the exact same gun. Again, same gun, it's just this one has a lot more paint, which is something I wish that this one had. And there are actually a few head swaps with this, which I will show, which is on my shorts with the posing of the Punisher figures, because Born Again's finale was awesome, which it was. Please, I want more Punisher, bruh. I'm so excited for a special presentation. Alright, but anyways, as for the last comparison, for the last size comparison, here is John Bernthal's Punisher compared to your average 6-inch scale figure. We have the Marvel Legends What If Zombie Captain America. Yes, this is my mascot for now, for size comparisons. But, yeah, Bernthal stands kind of tall, which I don't remember if he's supposed to be that tall, so I don't know. Hopefully, again, the new Born Again figure actually does fix the scaling, which I've been mentioning that figure a lot because it's just so good. But anyways, now moving on to my final thoughts. So, overall, is this Punisher worth getting? If you're a Punisher fan like me, or just a completionist for Punisher, then yeah, of course. But at the same time, if you want a John Bernthal Punisher figure, then just get the new one. Just pre-order the new one. There's like no reason to really get this. I know that I've said a lot of praises about this figure, the sculpt work, the painting on the skull, the likeness I think is, for the time was really good, but of course, as I said before with the Wolverine comparison, it's really not that great compared to, what we get now. The accessory count is incredibly light, so be wary of that. And of course, this figure is so incredibly expensive. I think I've seen a few go for like $80 to $100, which is absolutely absurd. Again, only buy it at your own risk, but for any people who want to get a John Bernthal Punisher, or for any people that want a definitive John Bernthal Punisher, just pre-order the Daredevil Born Again one. I know it doesn't really come with that many weapons, but that comes with a lot of alternate hands, which is something that this figure doesn't have, and it also comes with a better John Bernthal head sculpt and much better articulation, such as double jointed elbows, butterfly joints, and even more, maybe even a dumbbell neck, which is something I'm really excited about. But yeah, again, if you're a completionist, sure, but again, for newer collectors, just don't buy it. I'd say for me, I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. A lot of good things here. And again, there's a little bit of bias with this one because, again, I love John Bernthal as the Punisher. And I'll admit he's my definitive Punisher. But I don't really think you really need this. So, but hopefully that Born Again version upgrades and fixes the issues of this version. So yeah, until then, that's my review. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Let's reach 1K views, and by then I might do a special either review or maybe even a collab with something. Maybe a Whisk collab, but who knows? I might do something with that once I hit 1K. But until then, I will see you all next time in the next review, whatever that may be. Bye-bye.